I'm filming this 4 months and 3 weeks after my husband suddenly, unexpectedly passed away. For those of you who don't know, my husband passed away on July 16th of this year, so almost 5 months from now. And this is about things that I've learned in the past almost 5 months that he's been gone. I was married to him for 20 years and we have 8 children together. And I want to apologize if I sound congested. I am sick. Our family has been sick this whole week and a half with some crazy flu. And so it's kind of wiped us out. So I'm actually filming this in the middle of the night because I couldn't sleep. So this is 14 things that I've learned since my husband suddenly passed away. And what I'd like to say first is that I was with him at the hospital when he passed. He was brought to the hospital in bad condition. They lost him and then they had to bring him back to life, and then they lost him again, and finally at the end they did everything they could, and his heart just couldn't get enough blood to the organs. And the reason why I bring that up is because that's one of the things that I've learned since my husband passed away. It's the circumstances around the death have a big part to play in how you react and how you deal and how you get over the emotional grief. I made some notes just to make sure that I don't forget anything, so forgive me if I look down. The circumstances of the death are very important in being able to move on with your life. For example, my husband, he was around when his mother passed away. He was there with her the weeks in the hospital, and she died from stomach cancer. And this was very, very hard for him to get over. I would say pretty close to traumatic, even though he didn't have a close relationship with his mother. In spite of not being close to his mom, the way she died, I'm not trying to give you too much detail here, but with stomach cancer, she couldn't eat anything. So it was a slow death. She essentially couldn't eat anything and starved to death. So that was very emotionally impacting on my husband. For myself, being married to him 20 years, he was a great deal older than myself, and I knew just because of the age difference between us that it was more likely that he would pass away before me. And so for many years, our whole marriage, I've been dreading this point. Although I don't regret anything, I don't regret marrying him. I'm very glad to have those 20 years with him. Which brings me to another point. Number 2, I didn't react the way that I thought I would react once he passed away. For years, and I told him this long time ago, I told him that after he passes, that I said I wanted to go. And this is kind of funny, but I think you'll be able to understand that what I wanted is, I told him that I wanted to go insane for about a month. This was before we had 8 kids. And the reason is because I didn't want to know that he had passed away. I literally wanted to go out of my mind. I wanted to just completely be disconnected from reality, because I didn't want to, I didn't know what I would do after he died. I was very close to him. We always wanted to be together in heaven someday. And I loved him very, very much. So I just didn't want to face the consequences. And that's why I wanted to go crazy. That didn't happen. In fact, I was all too aware of what was going on. They told me at the hospital when they brought him in that things didn't look good, and they were just trying to prepare me. So I prayed and prayed while I was there at the hospital, and they were working on him. It was 3 hours that they worked on him. I didn't cry a lot. I prayed and prayed and prayed that he would come through. And that's one little tidbit I'd like to mention as a side note. I did look up some information on grieving. And just because some people cry more than others doesn't mean that they have a greater loss or that they love the person more than you. Don't believe that that's the case, because it's not. That brings me to another point. Where am I? At 3 now, I think. I thought I would cry and cry and cry. Now, I have 8 young kids. My oldest is 20 years old. And I did cry. I cried a lot. And then after about the 3rd day, I felt like I cried enough. By the end of the month, I didn't think that I would probably cry anymore, and I do shed some tears. My eyes do get watery, but I don't cry to the extent that I used to. So I guess that could kind of tie into that I didn't react the way I thought I would react to this point in my life, coming at this point in my life. It's oddly the 2nd time that this has happened. When I was a kid, and my dad told me about, death, and that he'd say, we all have to go sometimes. I thought that I would cry and cry and cry once he was gone, but these were the thoughts of a kid. And when he finally did pass away, that was very sudden as well. He had he had like a heart attack, and he didn't tell anyone. And then he had a 2nd one, and he was in the hospital, and they couldn't do anything. He died in the hospital. So very little did I cry. I don't recall crying at all. If I did, it was very little, and it was momentary. And that was because that as I was an adult, I didn't need him anymore. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, my parents didn't really understand me. They didn't really respect me. So I had drifted away from him for many years. Another thing I'd like to add about the circumstances is the circumstances surrounding the death can make it more likely or less likely to feel guilty about them passing, obviously. Once guilt has a hold on you, you'll never be able to get over the death if you don't get over the guilt. I would like to mention that I still have not gone to counseling. I made that choice. I did not want to go to counseling because I didn't want to be influenced by them. I just wanted to be left alone with my own thoughts. And I don't plan to go to counseling still. I just wanted to be left alone and, like I said, work through this without being, I don't know what other word to say than influenced. I also want to mention something about crying. A few of the reasons why I felt that I had cried enough was because there wasn't anything I could do about it. Logically, I can't change the situation. Can't bring him back. The other thing is that I know where he is. He's in heaven. He spoke about heaven a lot. In fact, our 8 kids, their entire life, my husband spoke to them about heaven. He was very spiritual and he loved Jesus very much. So there's no doubt in my mind that that's where he is, and it's a good place. It's the best place. I can't argue with that, you know. Another point is that I thought my kids would be very sad and depressed all the time. I thought they would be crying every day because we were a tight-knit family. And again, that's for those who don't know. I have published several videos about this, if you want, about the process that I was going through with this grieving. I asked my 16-year-old how he was doing, and I would periodically ask them how they're doing to check on them. My kids, they took it quite well. I mean, they weren't depressed. They weren't crying every day. They didn't react the way that I thought that they would. And my 16-year-old, he said, well, he's just in another place, referring to heaven. Because like I said, he always taught them about heaven and told them about heaven, and that's where he'd go when he died. So, oh yeah, he said, it's not like he's gone. He's just in another place. He's somewhere else. That's what he said. It's not like he's gone. He's just somewhere else. That's a fantastic way of looking at it. And like I said, logically, that's one of the reasons why I stopped crying. Sorry if I keep repeating myself. I mentioned that he was very spiritual, and I want to read to you what he wrote about the end of his life. He wrote this many, many years before he and I ever met. I think he was probably 33 at the time. I mentioned in one of my previous videos that a special spiritual event happened to him when he was about 33, let me see, it was 1989 when it happened to him, and it changed his entire life. So, this is what he wrote. It's called The Final Play, and he starts it with, I am the final play. My time has come, my deed is done, I leave this earth, my mind lives on. Heaven is my home. Heaven is my home. I am at peace. I am divine. I am forever united with you, Lord. I am infinite love, everlasting life, eternal perfection. God, Lord, I love you so. I am the Trinity creation. The Trinity creation was a system that he had created. It was inspired by this spiritual event that he had when he was around 30 or 33, like I had mentioned. And one of the reasons why, well, I'll explain it all to you. Forget one of the reasons. He says, I am at peace. I am divine. I am forever united with you, Lord. That's why he says divine, because he's become part of this energy, this positive energy that we call heaven, or that we call eternal life. God, the Lord, the creator, whatever you want to call it, is positive energy. It's love. That is the essence. That is the essence of what we call God. And that is why he says, I'm infinite love. He's talking about the Creator. Everlasting life. It's heaven. Eternal perfection. God is perfection. It has to be. It has to be. And then, of course, he says, God, Lord, I love you, so I am the Trinity creation. He also says at the start, my time has come. That's self-explanatory. I leave this earth, my mind lives on. The human body dies. That's the only way you can get to heaven, I think, except maybe through like an intense meditation. And I'm not trying to sound preachy here or anything. I'm just trying to explain his poem. So, other than a deep meditation, your body has to die in order to get to heaven, to get to that eternal realm, that eternal life. So, your mind is the energy, or what Christianity calls the soul. And that's why he says, my mind lives on. His mind lives on. It's gone beyond the body, which he used to call his shell. So, I put him in a mausoleum. And I don't plan on visiting him very much there. And the reason why I did that is because that was what he wanted. Like I mentioned, he passed away very, very suddenly. And this is what he said. He actually said it on a video short on this channel. He didn't want to be embalmed. He wanted to be left whole, and he wanted to be put in a mausoleum. And that brings me to my next point. I lost count where we're at here. But that's another thing that helped me to deal with the grief. And that is that I know I did everything that he wanted. I respected his wishes, and I just got to turn... Hang on, my battery's going to die. I did the right things, and that's very important. It's a comfort to me to know that I did everything right. Sorry for looking down. I acted according to my conscience, so I'm clear of any doubts. Do not let others sway you from what you feel in your heart is best. You do not want to have any regrets at this critical time in your life, and you can't do anything over again. That's why it's very important. that you do not have any doubts. So I'll cross that one off the list. He would be, I think, pleased with his the inscription on his I guess the front of his crypt. The crypt is like the spot where they put the body in. It's like the place that holds the body. And the mausoleum is the building that holds all of the bodies. Hey, hang on, let me move you down a bit here. I'm not trying to get things slanted here. I'm just trying to hold on here. Oh. Okay, there you go. So I didn't do things according to the way I would want it, or sorry, that's still not good. I didn't do things the way that I thought or that I wanted. Put on the marble front. I designed it, I guess you'd say, the way that I thought he would like it. For example, like everybody here, let me move you again. So I did things according to the way I thought he would like it, not the way that I personally would design something. He liked plain crosses, so I had that put on the front, and I put an inscription on it, words that he lived by, in exactly the way that he would want them written. That is a great comfort. I have no guilt, you know. As far as his sudden passing, there was a brief time where I had to be on guard of guilt because, you know, like he passed away in the home, and then the ambulance came and brought him back to life, and then they worked on him, and so I was downstairs in the basement for about 20 minutes organizing cans of food in our pantry down in the basement because our kitchen's very small. When I came up, he was very quiet. He wasn't snoring anymore. I could feel guilty about being in the basement for 20 minutes while he was upstairs. He wouldn't want me to feel guilty. I didn't know. I also told the doctors working on him to do everything they could, because I told him he had a young family, he had young children. I did everything I could. So that'll help you get on with grief, is honoring their wishes and acting according to your conscience. On to the next point. Recognize that you are vulnerable. That is words of wisdom. I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't really want to talk to anybody or see anybody. I did realize logically that in this time frame, and I still am vulnerable. You will be vulnerable too, of course. You might need to be on guard even just know and be aware that this is a very vulnerable point in your life. And the reason why I bring this up is because somebody commented on my videos about grief that I posted here on YouTube, and she said that her husband essentially is terminally ill, and she was watching my videos as a preparation. And so I guess this would be advice for her, you know, on how to handle it in a more smooth kind of way. Being extremely busy for the first while helped me out tremendously. For the first month, it actually took like a month and a half to get all of the paperwork done, to go to all the places I had to go, to collect all the signatures I needed to go to the banks and all of this stuff. There's a lot of stuff that needs to get done. And I dove right into it the first month, getting it all done. It happened to be in the summer, fortunately. Remember I talked about circumstances? My husband passing in the summer was, I can't think of the right word. What I want to say is about the circumstances surrounding his passing. It was during the summer, which fortunately my kids were not in school. My teenagers, they go to high school, and we had to go out every single day except when these government buildings were closed. Now, I'm sorry if I can't rattle all of this off like a bucket list of things to do, tips or points like all those other videos on YouTube. I'm still in the process of grieving. That's why this is difficult for me to talk about. It's not just, it's not like a bunch of errands you need to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, of course. I don't know if I really need to mention this. Okay, so, yeah, it still feels like somebody's missing in our family. I'm starting to get over that a little. Like when we get in the van or if we go somewhere, it seems like there's somebody missing, obviously, in our family. I wanted to thank that person who mentioned it about the new normal. Another thing I learned is not long after the second or third day, I felt an inner strength. That's because I was proactive. I was getting things done within myself. I knew my husband would be so proud of me. I was not falling apart. I was extremely productive and getting all the priorities looked after. And it suddenly hit me when I was at the stove and I was cooking that day, and I was thinking about him, because you will think about that person a lot. And it suddenly struck me, you know, that he would be very proud of the job I'm doing. That it made me feel comforted. I grew stronger in new ways because that's what the situation demanded. That's what it demanded of me. And that will probably happen to you too, because there will be things that need to be taken care of. And I know that I would not have grown in these ways had it not been for the situation put out in front of me. Next point that I want to say is that if your spouse passes away, maybe even like a family member, maybe a friend, I'm not sure about a friend so much, you will get a outside perspective of what your relationship was with them just because they're not around anymore. You're not being directly influenced by the relationship or by them. Another point, do not listen to sad tunes, even tunes. Do not listen to sad songs or sad music, sad symphonies, sad soundtracks or theme music or whatever. Even though it matches your mood and you feel like you can relate, it will make things worse. It'll make you more depressed, more sad. I think that is true even for people that are not grieving. It's not a good idea. I know this from personal experience. Another point that I would like to mention, which is also true if you're grieving or not, is if you're not getting much sleep, if you're sleep deprived and tired, you will be emotionally weakened. What that means is things that might not bother you so much normally will bother you. I can say from personal experience too that when I'm tired and sleep deprived, I will become more emotionally weakened. Things will affect me more emotionally than they would normally. So like I said, just try to be aware of it. You can kind of brush it off as, well, I'm thinking that way just because I'm really tired, and try and get some sleep, try and get some rest, and you'll see, you'll feel a lot better about it after you get sleep. One more thing I forgot to mention, I guess this would be 15, is the funeral home will take care of you. They have something called aftercare, and they will look after you. They will tell you everything that you need to do, fill out paperwork, government things, forms, etc., etc. They'll even help you mail in some of this stuff or send it in. So that has been such of tremendous worth and a tremendous value, the funeral home. So keep that in mind. Okay, the last thing, and this is where I'm at right now, is it's about something in St. John that Jesus says. He says to his disciples the last night, I think this is after the Last Supper, he says to them, at first you will be sad, and he mentions an example like a mother about to give birth because she knows her time has come. Little side note, personally, I was never sad about to give birth to our children. I'm anxious, yeah, but not sad. But he says, but then after you will be glad because you'll know that I'm with the Father. I mentioned in a previous video already that I knew what he meant, but now I think what he meant was even more than that. I think what he meant is not in the short term, but he means that as time goes on, you will adapt to not having that person around anymore. And then with time, you know, like maybe a year or two, no, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. But then with time, I don't know how long, you'll then feel glad because you'll know that they are with the Lord, and you will one day be reunited with them in heaven. And that's where I kind of am right now. I know logically my husband is in heaven. He still exists even though I can't have a conversation with him or anything. do feel as though he's looking out for us. He said that he would be guiding us. Like I said, he talked about heaven a lot. And there has been a positive energy flow. Things have been going well for us. I know that when I reach the end of my life, which the average life expectancy for, I think, women is about 80 years old, I will finally be able to be reunited with him. But first, I've got my job to do. I've got my responsibilities. And he would be happy. Well, he would be glad. He would be proud that I'm doing so well, taking care of our children. And I will be able to be with him again. And in a way, it's going to be even better than earth, you know, in heaven, because heaven is better than earth. So essentially take all the positive things in your relationship with that person, and in heaven, it's only the positive things, none of any crap, like any disagreements or characteristics that conflict, or personality traits that might conflict. So it's all of that crap is just gone, and you have like the pure essence of their energy, what makes them and their mind. I told you that logically, I know this, and so I don't feel a need to cry. I mean, it would be so much more difficult if you were atheist. I forgot, that is one of my points. I somehow missed that here in my notes. Let me see here. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything else. Oh yeah, okay, here it is. It must be 10 times harder to grieve if you're atheist. That person is gone. Dust to dust. Destruction. Here's my hands. Destruction. To go from a living, breathing person with a mind and feeling and emotion and love to just nothing. How do you get over that? You know, how it helps a great deal. You know, even if I was wrong about heaven, I would rather believe in heaven than be atheist. Did I say that right? All right. I'd rather believe in heaven and be wrong than be an atheist. Because, gee, you know, how do you console them? My dad was an atheist. He just said, well, when you gotta go, you gotta go. Or he'd say something like, that's the way the cookie crumbles, or some lame thing like that. I want to thank you for sticking around till the end of the video. I know this has kind of been long. I hope that some people have found this information to be of benefit to them. If you're going through grief right now, I'm sorry. things will get better. That's what people tell me on YouTube, things will get better. I do believe things will get better. And I just want to thank you for your kind support, your kind words, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.